Would you believe that a tiny white box building in Wichita, Kansas in 1921 would unleash a global phenomenon so powerful it would transform agriculture, revolutionize labor practices, and fundamentally alter the human relationship with food forever? A phenomenon that now feeds 50 million Americans daily and has made billions of people worldwide physically addicted to engineered combinations of salt, fat, and sugar, scientifically designed to override your brain's natural satiety signals? The smell of sizzling grease hangs heavy in the air as a wide-eyed boy stands transfixed outside a newly opened diner in 1921. The aroma hits him like a drug. Hot beef, caramelizing onions, and something new. The unmistakable scent of efficiency. For just one nickel, a single silver coin clutched in his small palm, he can purchase what will become America's most dangerous addiction. A hot, juicy burger served in what seems like an impossible time frame. This isn't some fancy establishment with white tablecloths and snooty waiters. There are no decorations, no dining room, not even chairs. Just a stark, utilitarian white building of steel and tile, gleaming with clinical precision. But what's happening inside this unassuming box will transform human civilization more profoundly than anyone could imagine. That place was White Castle, and that moment, it was the birth of an empire that would eventually colonize nearly every street corner on Earth. In the roaring 1920s, America was surging with industrial might, but the culinary landscape remained stubbornly anchored in the previous century. Traditional restaurants were exclusive affairs, expensive, time-consuming rituals reserved for the privileged few. Street vendors offered quicker alternatives but carried the stigma of filth and disease in an era still traumatized by the Spanish flu pandemic. What White Castle founder Billy Ingram brilliantly recognized was a gaping void in American food culture. A hunger not just for calories, but for something that felt modern, scientific, and synchronized with the accelerating pace of urban life. White Castle didn't just sell hamburgers, they engineered a radical new food system. Every aspect was calculated for maximum efficiency and psychological impact. Workers wore pristine white uniforms with paper hats that deliberately evoked the sterile authority of hospital staff. Kitchens were designed to be visible to customers with gleaming stainless steel surfaces that communicated cleanliness and industrial precision. Even the buildings themselves, those distinctive White Castle-like structures, were prefabricated and assembled on site, a revolutionary concept in 1921. By adapting assembly line techniques pioneered in Henry Ford's automotive factories, White Castle created something unprecedented. Standardized food production where every burger was identical, every process optimized, every second counted. They weren't selling luxury or creativity, they were selling scientific reliability. A White Castle slider in Kansas would be identical to one in New Jersey. This wasn't just food, it was mechanical perfection on a bun. But White Castle was merely the prototype. The true revolution, the moment that would forever change how humans consume calories, came in 1948 when two brothers in San Bernardino, California, reached their breaking point with traditional restaurant operations. Richard and Morris McDonald had grown increasingly frustrated, watching their car hop service struggle with complicated menus, slow kitchen operations, and the inefficiencies of human interaction. In a radical move that shocked their employees and customers alike, they shut down their thriving restaurant for 3 months. When they reopened, everything had changed. Gone were the car hops, the extensive menu, the customizable orders. In their place stood the world's first glimpse of true fast food, the speedy service system. This wasn't just a faster restaurant. It was a fundamentally reimagined approach to feeding humans. The McDonald brothers stripped their menu down to just 9 items. They eliminated real plates and silverware in favor of paper wrappings and cups. Most revolutionary of all, they reconfigured their kitchen into specialized stations where workers performed single, repetitive tasks rather than preparing complete meals. One person grilled patties, nothing else. Another toasted buns, nothing else. A third added condiments, nothing else. The results were staggering. Orders that once took 30 minutes were now fulfilled in under 30 seconds. Prices plummeted while profits soared. The McDonald brothers had accidentally invented something that seemed to defy economic gravity. Food that was simultaneously faster, cheaper, and more profitable than anything that came before. But the brothers lacked vision. They were content with their comfortable California operation. It took a 52-year-old milkshake machine salesman named Ray Kroc to recognize what they had truly created. Not just a restaurant, but potentially the most scalable business model in human history. When Kroc first walked through the door of the McDonald Brothers restaurant in 1954, he didn't just see people eating burgers, he saw the future. Where the brothers saw a successful local business, Kroc envisioned golden arches stretching across continents. He negotiated a national franchising agreement that the brothers would come to bitterly regret and began aggressively expanding across America with military precision. Kroc's genius wasn't just in recognizing the power of the McDonald's system. It was in his fanatical obsession with standardization. Every new McDonald's followed his biblical 75-page operations manual that dictated everything down to the precise temperature for frying potatoes, 175 degrees Celsius, and the exact weight of each beef patty, 1.6 ounces. By the mid-1960s, McDonald's was opening new locations at the astonishing rate of one per day. A new phrase entered the American lexicon: fast food. But this revolution came with catastrophic hidden costs that wouldn't become fully apparent for decades. As McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and other chains expanded exponentially through the 1970s, their massive purchasing power fundamentally warped American agriculture. These corporations weren't just buying food. They were dictating exactly how that food should be produced, processed, and delivered. Small, diversified farms couldn't meet these rigid specifications and industrial-scale demands. The result? A seismic shift toward factory farming that would devastate rural communities and transform animals into production units. Consider the humble chicken. Before fast food, chickens typically roamed farmyards and took 80 to 90 days to reach market weight. Today's fast food chickens are genetically engineered monstrosities that reach slaughter weight in just 47 days. Growing so rapidly, their legs often collapse under their own artificially enhanced breast meat. They never see sunlight, never scratch natural soil, never perform a single natural chicken behavior during their entire tortured existence. Why? Because McNuggets must be uniform. Because chicken sandwiches require specific dimensions. Because the system demands consistency above all else. The human toll has been equally devastating. Meatpacking plants serving the fast food industry transformed from middle-class jobs with union protections into some of America's most dangerous and exploitative workplaces. According to shocking revelations in Eric Schlosser's groundbreaking 2001 investigation, some workers weren't receiving proper training. They were simply thrown onto high-speed processing lines where amputation injuries became commonplace. Line speeds increased relentlessly while wages stagnated. Many plants specifically recruited vulnerable immigrants, less likely to report safety violations or organize for better conditions. Have you ever wondered why a Big Mac costs roughly the same today as it did in the 1990s, despite decades of inflation? The answer lies in this brutal human arithmetic, squeezing workers, farmers, and animals to maintain the illusion of affordability. But perhaps the most insidious cost has been to human health. By the 1980s, medical researchers began noticing alarming correlations between fast food consumption and skyrocketing rates of obesity, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. The documentary Super Size Me delivered a shocking visual manifestation of these dangers when filmmaker Morgan Spurlock consumed nothing but McDonald's for 30 days. Viewers watched in horror as his body literally began to deteriorate. His liver function deteriorated to levels seen in alcoholics. His cholesterol spiked dangerously, and doctors pleaded with him to stop the experiment before he caused permanent damage. What makes fast food so uniquely destructive to human health? The answer lies in sophisticated food science deliberately engineered to override your body's natural regulatory systems. Fast food isn't just lacking nutrition. It's specifically designed to be hyper-palatable, triggering dopamine releases in the brain, identical to those caused by cocaine or heroin. The precise ratio of fat, salt, and sugar creates what food scientists call the bliss point, a sensory experience so powerful it can create genuine physical addiction. Think that's an exaggeration? Ask yourself why fast food corporations spend billions specifically targeting children with cartoon characters, playgrounds, and toy giveaways. They understand a fundamental truth: hook them young, and you have customers for life. The 2000s saw the rise of so-called fast casual chains like Chipotle, Panera, and Five Guys that promised a more ethical, healthier alternative. Their exposed brick walls, chalkboard menus, and claims of food with integrity suggested a fundamental break from fast food's industrialized past. But look closer, and you'll find many of the same old patterns in new packaging. A single Chipotle burrito can contain over 1,300 calories, more than half the recommended daily intake for an average adult. And when Chipotle faced devastating E. coli outbreaks in 2015, it revealed the fundamental tension in their business model. How do you truly source fresh ingredients at national scale while maintaining fast food economics? Then came 2020, and a global pandemic that should have destroyed the fast food industry instead accelerated its evolution. With dining rooms forced to close, chains rapidly pivoted to drive-through, delivery, and digital ordering. McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Chick-fil-A deployed AI voice recognition systems in drive-thrus. Robot fryers and automated drink dispensers began replacing human workers. Ghost kitchens, faceless food production facilities with no customer-facing presence, proliferated across urban centers, sometimes housing dozens of virtual restaurant brands within a single industrial kitchen. As automation threatens to eliminate millions of fast food jobs, historically the first rung on the employment ladder for teenagers, immigrants, and those without formal education, workers have begun fighting back. The Fight for $15 movement has won significant victories across America, forcing corporations to reckon with decades of wage suppression. In 2021, McDonald's workers in 15 cities staged coordinated walkouts, demanding not just higher pay but basic human dignity, protection from sexual harassment, violence, and unsafe working conditions. But perhaps the most significant battle for fast food's future isn't happening behind the counter. It's happening in the laboratory. Plant-based meat alternatives from companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods have stormed onto fast food menus worldwide. Unlike the sad veggie burgers of yesteryear, these new products are engineered at the molecular level to replicate the taste, texture, and even the bleed of real meat. When Burger King introduced the Impossible Whopper, many customers couldn't distinguish it from the beef original in blind taste tests. Here's the question that will define the next century of fast food. Are these plant-based alternatives truly a more ethical, sustainable future? Or are they simply extending the fundamental fast food paradigm? Highly processed, corporatized food production under a greenwashed veneer? From that humble white box in Wichita to AI-powered ghost kitchens in Shanghai, fast food has never merely been about convenience or affordability. It represents something far more profound: humanity's industrial approach to its most basic biological need. Every time you unwrap that burger, every time you sip that milkshake, you're participating in a global system that has reshaped agriculture, labor relations, public health, and the very landscape of modern civilization. The next time you pull up to that drive-thru window, ask yourself, what am I really consuming? And at what cost to the farmers, workers, animals, and ecosystems hidden behind those brightly colored menu boards? Because fast food was never just about feeding hunger. It's about feeding a machine that continues to transform our world, one quick, cheap bite at a time.